Welcome to another 3 True Scary Stories from Reddit. Before we begin, I would like to say that the links to the stories will be in the description below if you want to read along with me. I would also like to wish everyone a late Merry Christmas. With that being said, let's begin. Number 1. I know that my story isn't nearly as scary as other stories on here, but it is one of the scariest things that has ever happened to me, so I thought I'd post it here. I'm a female, and I was 14 at that time. I'm from a big city in Germany, and that afternoon I wanted to buy a birthday present for a friend. I planned on taking the subway downtown where all the shops were. Even though my home city is big, it is considered very safe, so I never felt unsafe going to friends' houses or downtown by myself. While I was waiting on the platform, a guy slowly walked past me and stopped just a few meters away from me. I remembered that he must have been in his late teens or early 20s, and he had glasses on. While I looked around the platform bored, since the subway wouldn't arrive for another 3 minutes, I noticed that the guy was directly looking at me. Being a rather shy girl, I quickly looked away. After a few seconds, I wanted to check if he was still looking at me, so I took a quick glance. Surely enough, the guy was still staring. This went on until the subway arrived. By then, I was feeling really uncomfortable. Luckily, there had been a few other people on the platform, so I still felt kind of safe. I got on and succeeded to snatch one of the few empty seats left, since it was close to Christmas and the subway was packed with people. I couldn't see the guy from my seat, and I slowly calmed down. A couple of minutes later, I got off at my stop and took the escalator up to the street. While standing on the escalator, I turned around, and my heart sank. The creepy guy from the platform was standing a few meters behind me on the same escalator, and he was still staring at me. I tried to calm myself by thinking that this station was a popular meeting spot, and a lot of people who wanted to go shopping got off here. And since it was so close to Christmas, it was probably just some random shopper. When I arrived on the street, I turned right, walked down the street, and turned right again at the next corner. When I turned the corner, I quickly looked down the street I was coming from, and the guy was walking in my direction. I felt really uncomfortable, so I entered a bookshop and waited behind a bookshelf for the guy to walk wherever he was heading to. After a few minutes, I got out of the shop, and that was the moment I started to panic. The guy was standing just a few meters away from the store, waiting. I should have ran back into the store and called my parents to pick me up. Instead, stupid 14-year-old me hoped that there was a logical explanation for this guy's behavior, and that he might have just been waiting for someone else. So I got out of the store and walked in the opposite direction of where the guy was. I walked faster, hoping that if he was following me, I would lose him among all the other shoppers. But when I turned right at the next corner, I was walking around the block. I looked back down the street again. He was still just a few meters behind me. While I walked even faster, I felt like I was about to cry. But I knew I had to keep calm. So I turned right again, and when I looked back, I could still see him behind me. I was positive that he was indeed following me. What other reason would he have to walk around a block without entering any of the stores? While I tried to think about a way to escape, I suddenly saw my chance. The street light on the crossing light just a few meters in front of me turned red, and I started running as fast as I could. I managed to make it just barely to the other side before the lane was packed with traffic. I looked back. The guy didn't make it across the street and was standing on the other side, waiting for the light to turn green again, and he was still staring at me. But this time, with a creepy, wide grin. At that moment, I felt more scared than I had ever felt before in my life, and I started running again. This time, into a big department store just a few meters away from me. I knew that department store had another entrance at the back, facing another street. On that street, there was usually a line of cabs waiting to pick up shoppers. I sprinted through the store and out the other entrance. To my greatest relief, there was the usual line of cabs. I practically jumped into the first cab. In tears, I told the cab driver my home address, and then shouted, "Quick, quick, quick!" while frantically looking back to the door, expecting the guy to come out at any second. Fortunately, I didn't see him. I'm still thankful that the cab driver instantly started driving, and only asked what happened and if I was alright when we were a few blocks away. In tears and completely shaken, I told him about the guy that was following me and how scared I was. And when we arrived at my parents' house, he refused to charge me and waited until I was safely inside. To this day, I'm still grateful to that cab driver. I don't know if that guy who was following me was just playing a very cruel prank on me and just wanted to scare me, or if he had something way more sinister in mind. But anyway, creepy subway stalker guy, let's never meet again.
She's different.
Number 2. This happened a while back, when I was still a junior in college. After becoming an upperclassman, students living on campus didn't have to live in a dorm room or in a sorority or fraternity house anymore if they didn't want to, because they were given the option to rent an actual apartment at the college. That's exactly what I did, the first chance I got. The apartments were nice, swell appliances, my personal favorite being the handy-dandy microwave oven. A lot more space than a dorm, and more privacy. The particular apartment assigned to me was 2 stories instead of 1, like some of the others. The ones with only 1 floor were pretty big in diameter. Mine was more narrow. It was great, and I kinda felt more like an adult because I had house keys. Anywho, I had quite a bit of classes, clubs, sports, and other activities during the day, so I wasn't home a lot during the week. But on weekends, I basically had the whole place to myself. Unless I had a not very rare cross-country meet, or an art show 2 states away. My roommate, Sydney, was a total insomniac though, so she'd do her thing during the day, and usually went on walks or out with friends at night. She'd often come home late, or early, depends on how you look at it, but about 4 o'clock in the morning. I honestly had no freaking clue when she ever slept, so our apartment was usually empty, or occupying 1 sleepy person. We got robbed. A lot. Like, a lot. Super often. Probably twice a month. I complained a bunch to the administrators, but they couldn't really do anything, and in the back of my mind, I kind of knew that. The front door's lock wasn't broken. The windows had locks. The robberies just happened. They'd pick the lock or find an open window on a hot day, even if it was on the second story, and steal our crappy 1990s television set, or even our microwave oven. Clearly, they were running out of things to take. We were college students. We didn't have too many valuables. I mainly complained because it really wasn't the ideal situation. But I'd never woken up to see anything stolen, and Sid never woke up because she was always awake. So the majority of the robberies were in broad daylight when I was at class, which was a little strange. Or sometimes when I came back from 4-day road trips. It wasn't so unnerving because no one had ever broken in when I was sleeping. But it was still annoying. Looking back on it now, it was weird how the robberies took place at really precise times. Like when Sid went home for the weekend, and I was in Missouri for a fundraiser. Or while I was at a night class, and my roommate was at a friend's. It was quite clear whoever was breaking in and stealing our shit knew our schedules to some extent, because there was never an incident while either of us were there. But even so, I still should have gotten out of there before what happened did happen. Sydney was at a concert, and I didn't expect her to be home until the horizon started to brighten. I was gonna go to a haunted house with some buddies for Halloween, something the college was putting on to raise money for nicer books, and maybe better locks on the doors. But my friend Sarah bailed last minute, presumably to go fuck someone, and her cousin Matt had gotten himself sick, so we were scheduled pretty late into the night. I wasn't feeling so great either though, so I wasn't too bummed, and took to curling up on my sofa and watching Slumdog Millionaire. I ended up falling asleep there on the first floor, and awoke a few hours later when Satan was literally scraping out my uterus with a rusty knife. I retrieved some Tylenol from the bathroom and filled a glass in the kitchen. Downing the pills, I turned to go upstairs to my bedroom when I noticed my roommate standing by the fridge. I was half asleep and in pain, so I tried to say something like, "I thought you'd be home later," but it came out more like, "I thought, what?" And I gave up. Sid didn't say anything though. She just stood there, barely moving or breathing. "You okay?" I asked, sounding almost like a regular human being again, but she didn't react in any way. I shrugged and pushed past her to get into the fridge, suddenly very hungry. I took out an apple and munched on it, still chatting with her, asking how the concert was. A few times I thought I saw her nod, but it was dark and I couldn't make out her face. "Okay, well, night I guess." She was still stiff as a board, unwavering as I headed up the stairs and into my room. The next morning I woke up around noon, because why not, and grabbed a bowl of cereal. Sitting down at the small table, I noticed the kitchen looked different, and upon further inspection, realized our second microwave oven was missing. "What the fuck?" was my first response. And after briefly talking to myself, my phone rang, scaring the absolute living shit out of me. "Hey," came Sydney's voice through the line. "Sorry, I know I said I'd be home last night, but we got caught." "Okay, seriously, Ash, shut the fuck up." "Caught up and lost track of time. I have class in an hour. Can you come pick me up?" Guys, I talked to my microwave oven thief for like 30 minutes, thinking it was my roommate. So, Let's not meet.
And then you freak out because suddenly you meet this person.
Number 3. Okay, so about a year ago, I went down to visit my adoptive mom for Thanksgiving. I found that only 2 of my other adoptive siblings had also showed up, so we ended up spending the better part of our stay there together. On our first night there, we all decided that we would stay up and watch movies. Around 4 a.m., I decided to call it a night and went into my old bedroom and cozied up under the blankets. About 5 minutes later, my 2 siblings rushed into my room, shaking me and telling me to get up. My sister grabbed my arm and rushed me to the kitchen and told me to get a knife. Confused as hell, but still ready to fuck shit up, I grabbed a knife and followed her to the front door. My brother unlocked and opened the door and told me to go stand on the porch. I did as told and was not met by anyone. It was silent. I was, however, met by an awful stench. Kind of like rotting eggs or something, I don't know. It was awful. I walked back inside and told them I was going back to bed and they'd better clean up whatever rotting thing that they threw out there. But they both just stared at me for a moment before asking if I had seen her. They explained that after I'd gone to bed, they both went out for a cigarette and saw a woman walking down the street towards our house. She was walking rather oddly, they said, like she'd hurt her leg. Once she got under the street lamp, they noticed that her clothes were white, but it looked like something dark had splattered all over her. They called out to her and asked if she needed any help, but they didn't receive any response. She did stop though, but only to stare at them while making weird faces. She kept moving her face, making her eyes wide, then squinting, opening her mouth so wide, oh my god, showing us her teeth. It was freaky. My sister said it must have only been for a minute, but it felt like forever. Before they knew it, this woman started running towards them at full speed while screaming, which is something I felt like I should have heard, but no. They both ran into the house and locked the door, then ran to my room to get me. I didn't actually see this woman, so the part that fucked me up was that these 2 people gave me a knife and told me to go outside with a potentially unstable woman. Jesus, dude. Like I'm 5'3" female who can barely open jars by herself. What were they expecting me to do? My brother, on the other hand, is a 6'1", 250-pound dude who spent 4 years of high school playing linebacker. Luckily, nothing happened. I don't know why there was such an awful stench, and it wasn't there by the next morning. I didn't see or hear anything else my entire duration there, and judging by the way my siblings were acting, they deserve an Oscar if they were fabricating this. To this day, they still stand by what they saw, never changing their story, and even getting uneasy looks on their face when someone brings it up. But yeah, creepy lady, let's not meet. Thanks for listening to another 3 True Scary Stories from Reddit. Remember, if you like this video, make sure to leave a thumbs up and also subscribe for future content. Until next time, have a great day everybody, and as always, stay safe.